At the center of the universe, at the border between the light and the dark, stands Castle Grayskull. For countless ages, the heroes of Grayskull have defended the universe against the forces of evil. Walk through the Hall of Living Pictures and learn the history and mystery of the masters of the universe. Dive deep into the mythology of Eternia, Etheria, and more. For those who know the stories of Grayskull will come the power. The power to be supreme. The power to be all-knowing. The power to be Legends of Grayskull.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 13 and a half of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Primus, Nordor, Golden Books, Ladybird books, UK annuals, magazines, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of, even some DC comics. I'm Matthew Dooch. I'm here with Sean Scavarna. Sean, how are we doing today?
It's weird. We have two episodes in a row where we are talking about the final things of something regarding any way, shape, or form masters. And that's just like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is the weirdest time. Like, okay, She-Ra's over. Now this is over. Although this is, 2 months in the making, basically, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So,
there was that month delay because no comics were shipping and everything. So this was supposed to be last month's episode. But yeah, we had the new beginning with New Adventures. We even had kind of a new mini comic beginning, but we started with the Texera comics. And,
that's true. Yeah.
And now two endings, and that'll put me in the books. So
we just begin and end all over the place in this podcast.
Place.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Before we get into that, I do want to say hello to the chat room because we are live on YouTube right now. Dan Rice, I've seen you pop in so far. Welcome, sir. You were not early, or you were not late. You were early. So hopefully you stuck.
Nothing wrong with that.
Actually, he was really early. Now that I'm looking at it, he was in like 20 minutes ago. So probably when I put up that post. So. We are live now, Dan, if you want to come back. And I did see you subscribe to the channel as well today. It's about time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dan here. All right. So today we are talking about Multiverse number 6, the final issue. Thank you.
The final countdown. Yeah, this one's been a little while in the making, like we were just saying. And I guess the big question is, does it live up to any fan expectations at this point? Or does it completely drop the ball?
Or does it just adequately tell a story? I mean, my bar was pretty low at this point. If it just wraps up the story that we're on and, gives me a satisfactory ending, I would be pretty good. So, so leading up to this, so we've got 5 other issues. I got them all here. We got 5 issues up till now. So we followed Prince Keldor from Anti-Eternia as he's chased Anti-Eternia He-Man across the known universes. Anti-Eternia He-Man has been trying to get all of the swords of power from all the different iterations of He-Man. And Keldor, 87 movie He-Man, and Tapper's He-Man were trying to stop him. Along the way, we lost both the He-Men, as well as New Adventures He-Man. 2000X He-Man and Filmation He-Man survived, but they lost their power swords. Honestly, looking back on it, it wasn't that high of a body count, really. If there was more implied than we actually saw, I guess.
Well, I was just going to say on screen, yes, but I think the implication there was for every one we saw on screen, there was probably at least maybe 5 other ones we didn't watch.
Right.
We were just getting the greatest hits version of
Mm-hmm.
it because of 6 issues.
Right. I want that noted for later.
Yeah.
And so he's tackled all. Actually, I'm gonna grab. Hang on a second. Yeah. I didn't put them close enough. There we go. So yeah, so he has Anti-Eternia He-Man has fought through all these different universes, all these different realities, and has been killing people and taking power swords for a while now. So yeah. So now we get into this issue, and let's jump right into it, huh?
I'm game. Let's do
All
it.
right.
No time like the present.
No, I know. I want to say more, but it'll spoil things later. So let's do our usual running through the issue.
Let's also preface this or preface whatever this with the fact that you and I actually did really well at not talking much about this leading up to this episode. We only have tiny little bits that we've shared in the last 24 hours. So it's going to be fun to even just go into this, because usually before a show, there is a little bit of banter back and forth on our messages before we go on. And here it's like, okay, let's see what happens, because I'm waiting to hear what he has to say tonight. Let's do this.
And the real quick here, Super Air Mac 55, has joined us. Thank you, buddy.
Welcome.
And yes, he says that he was expecting more death in the series as well. And yeah,
okay.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be more of like a Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe type of thing, where you're just like body counts left and right, and really, he didn't do a whole lot of that we saw. Yeah, and then we'll get to that Super Air Mark. He asked a little bit about how Anti-Eternia works, so I know we'll definitely broach that subject a little later on. But yeah, any of you guys that got questions, just drop them in the chat. Even if I don't catch them while we're running, I'll go back through when we're done here. And also, if you're a member of his Facebook page, drop if you're using a username on here, drop your real name down there for me. So let's get into find something here, but I'll find it as we go along. So let's just jump to the comic. So
here we go. Brace yourselves, people.
Brace yourselves. So we open up here. Anti-Eternia He-Man's inside Castle Hellskull. He's the nexus of all realities. And I guess this is kind of his castle's version of the Orb Chamber. It's got the Orb of Horrors instead of the Orb of Power. And yeah, this is one where and this is kind of what Super Air Mark was getting to. Like, Anti-Eternia is a bit different. It's not even just like a complete mirror image like we talked about in the episode talking about the first issue. But then it's also not really just a matter of Adam being evil in this one. There's and it gets a little fuzzier as we go along. But as you see here, like, this isn't just a straight like He-Man went evil. This is actually a whole different castle. This is it's still got a power sword, but it's a beautiful angelic looking castle. And then it's got an Orb of Horrors instead of an Orb of Power. So there are some vast differances, which is interesting, and it causes more confusion later on than I think it helps, really. So
yeah, the way that I always equated Anti-Eternia it was like a demonic version of Eternia, and this just kind of it throws my concept. This whole book threw my concept of a lot of things of what I thought Anti-Eternia, both He-Man and the Eternia, was about.
Yes.
So in this, it's like I already had to throw a lot of my preconceived ideas out and just go along with this ride,
Right.
whether I liked it or not at this point, because this is the story that they're telling.
And we'll get to the liked it or not. And actually, Super Airmark, that's Arturo from the Facebook page. That's who was we were talking a little bit earlier. Thanks for joining us,
I saw
Arturo.
he's apparently he has quite the opinion of this issue from what I've read.
And so did I. So on this first page here, he's finally kind of revealing his plan, which was really fuzzy up until this point. But yeah,
it was barely mentioned up until this point, in my opinion. Like the basic concept was he wants all the swords, but then after that, it's like okay, and then this happens, and I'm like, oh, so this is what the whole point of all of it was then. Okay.
Right. This was a really slow burning plan. They waited till the final issue to fully reveal what he was doing.
Yep.
And right off here, here's the first problem. He gathered all. He wasn't even really gathering the power swords here. He was stealing the spirits of Grayskull, which is an interesting concept, actually. I wish it had been played up before this issue, instead of just coming out of nowhere right now, because I actually think that is an interesting concept. But the fact that the way he harnesses their power is to say, let the power return. Now, if he's... Yes, I'm going to be that nerd comic book guy. If he says, let the power return, and he's an Atom that's transformed into He-Man, that should change him back to Atom. Not harness the spirits of Grayskull. Like... it's the little things like this that nag at me. That's why so far issue 2 in New Adventures has been my lowest rated, because it did the same thing. There was so little thought into that other than, hey, let's throw New Adventures in here, you know.
Yeah. And the idea of let the power return, I took that actually what you were saying on top of that, yes, I thought the same thing. But then I was also like, if he's saying let the power return, wouldn't that mean that all of those Grayskulls would have their power back? Because that's they're assigned to those Grayskulls. So the idea of saying something like that in here, whether it's in this chamber or not, the power wasn't there to begin with.
Right.
This is a different universe's ability. So it's like, okay, that's blurring a whole bunch of lines that make sense in the way that the structure and the rules have been for the Masters in that way. So it's like, all right, we're already a little on rocky ground trying to figure this thing out, but we'll try to make the best of it.
Yeah, and he brings up the anti-truth again, which again we still have, even now we still don't really know what that is. And he says, for eons, the spirits of Grayskull defended the multiversal core from anti-truth. Okay? But today, they will be its greatest converts. So he's taken these good spirits and he's going to use them for his evil purposes. Okay, cool. And like Arturo said too, he said he did dig the look of the spirits, and I did too. Like, this is neat. They have a few different details and everything.
Yeah.
But here's the first thing I did is there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
So, and we saw him take 5 different He-Man's powers. But like you said, there was a lot of implied death off screen.
Yeah. Well, the first issue alone, they had him going to a couple different realities, and there were at least 3 or 4 they hinted at in the beginning of that issue before we got introduced to Keldor.
Yep,
so. Like that was, I was thinking the same thing. Like, okay, they got 5 of these, and I'm sure that's representative, but it doesn't add up with it, and it also doesn't add up with something that happens at the end of the book either. Then, and when we get to that page, I'm definitely, we're definitely going to hit that because I know we're on the same page on that one.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, so what does this mean? Because these are the 5 greatest iterations. But what are all the other ones about then?
So right in the first book, what it shows, because he doesn't have to take the power from Anti-Eternia because he's already, got that. So the other realities it shows there is the 87 movie sideshow, and it's got
Yeah.
that panel that we speculate could have been the DC comics or something, Red Vest Adam, Cobra Armor Tila,
Yeah.
So there's three realities shown right here. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
add New Adventures on top of that, you add 2000X on top of that, you add Filmation on top of that, you add the mini tourney on top of that. I mean, there you're up to 7 already. And there's
Mm-hmm.
only 5 spirits here. So,
Yeah.
um yeah. So right there starts it, and that's why I wanted to note that earlier.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but there is a part of me that when we talked about this in depth, when we did the first 3 issues, and we came back and did another episode to like cover it a little bit more, I did bring that up, that the implication of him killing some of these He-Men also is these guys aren't written in anything.
Right.
So some of those guys, it's like he's killing a statue line, like, so there's that element there of, I don't know if that was something that negated. I don't know. I'm not even trying to make up for something that it's not on the page and it wasn't
And
there.
thank you for that, because I forgot to mention Tappers, because they didn't actually show
Tappers.
it there. So there's another. So we're up to 8 realities that we know he took the power from. Yet only 5 spirits here.
Yeah.
So
Confusing.
And like Arturo's right there with us. He's saying the same thing. The whole anti-truth stuff ticked him off. They kept mentioning it, but they would never actually just tell us exactly, Arturo. It's just tell us already. We should have known that. But I said it back when we were covering this. Like by issue 3, his basic plan should have been clear to us. Like keeping us in the dark is not good writing. It's lazy. It's saying that the only thing you think is going to keep us going is our wanting to figure out the plan.
Sure. Well, in a 3-act idea of, like, the first 2 issues would have been the first act, probably the middle 2, and then the end 2, act 2, act 3. By the end of the first 2 issues, you should just flat out know this is what they're up against. Right. It's not just he's just going to kill everybody and collect their power swords. There's a whole nother thing to it. And here we are, final issue, and now we're finally getting it. And it's like, how do we care? Right. How do we get the stakes of this? The stakes I thought were, let's just not have him kill all these He-Men, so he doesn't get all their power swords. And now it's like, oh, it's more things. Okay, whatever.
Well, and that's it. And what I've said all along, it's like who's the protagonist of this? Like, because when I went into it, I figured it'd be He-Man or the He-Men. Like, but it's become clear by now that it was. This is Prince Keldor's story through and through. If that's a surprise to you guys by now, I'm sorry, but
this is a surprise to me.
About issue 5, when they killed off 87 movie He-Man, I go, well, I guess it's Prince Keldor's story then. Like, there's nothing else here. So
yeah, but then the question as a storyteller is, but do you care about that story? Are you invested in him in any way, shape, or form beyond the fact that now this is who you're left with? Because it's like you can do all that you want, but then at the end of the day, does this main character, does he even remotely give you enough to go, I hope he lives? Because up until this point, I was like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care about Keldor. I don't care about his world, because they've spent too much time introducing me to all these other things. And every issue is building from the ground up again. Here we have to talk about New Adventures. Here we got to talk about 2000X and show you how the world has been. And it's like, this is exhausting. Yes. Like every issue we're introduced to something new, but we don't even have a connection to anyone other than 87 Dolph. He was my guy up until just the last issue, and then I'm like, oh crap, now I don't care.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly it. I mean, and here we are. The grand finale is taking place on Anti-Eternia. So we're in the royal throne room. And it's weird because throughout this miniseries, Keldor has not bothered me that much, but the writing of Keldor in this issue is terrible. Like the stuff he says and the way he's talking is so earthy and so he turned quippy all of a sudden in this last issue. I don't know if that bothered you at
He
all, but it was like, what is going on here all of a sudden? Like he's a teenager with attitude somehow.
well, here's something that I thought about reading it last night was how old is this guy? Because
Yes.
that's what you're saying, and that's what through his dialogue. But I was looking at it like they portrayed him as basically a teenager who's not wanting to
Right.
be responsible, but yet he's the same age as Randor,
Yeah,
and
maybe a
Randor is
little difference, but
definitely
yeah, he's
well,
older. He's
he should be older than Adam.
right. He's Adam's
He's
uncle still.
exactly, and yet at the same time, it's like the way that Tim Seeley wrote him. It's like, well, he's just Prince Adam, but he's Keldor, and there's an element of, but
Exactly.
Prince Adam is supposed to be younger, and Prince Adam is technically like 18,
Mhm.
depending what version you're using, and 16 to 18, 2000
Right.
Exxon, but he should be somebody that sounds like a teenager. And in this, it's like he's just kind of this, he never grew up. He's Peter Pan.
Right.
But I'm like, how old is he supposed to be? There's white in his hair, and
Yep.
there's this and that and all that. But I was like, at the same time, there's just this disconnect of what the heck is happening here.
Yeah, that hit me, and that's exactly it. That's what they did. They flipped the script, and they went, "Well,
Yep.
Prince Keldor's the teenager now." But then, so that means Adam's older than him. He certainly acts older than him. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the white in the hair. That was because of New Adventures Skeletor, I believe, in the second issue. But
I forgot about
yeah,
that.
something happened to him in one of the issues. I think it was in the New Adventures. Yeah, it was when he sucked some of his power. But still, but yeah, he's at best he's the same age as Adam in this, which makes no sense at all for a timeline. So,
Yep.
um, but yeah, so the evil masters here attack Keldor, which why all of them? I mean, you got Cyclone, you got Mossman, you got Orko, Buzzoff, Tila, Clampchamp, Stratos, and Man at Arms. How they can't take down this fledgling prince who can't even really control his magic, I don't understand. But
Yeah.
and like they're, oh, come on, Lord Stratos, Duncan, come on now, it's not all bad. Don't be so negative. Like,
Yeah.
what?
It's dad jokes. I mean, that's like the minute
you're
that I read that,
insulting
I'm like,
dad jokes with that. I love dad
I
jokes.
mean, that's my daughter rolls her eyes anytime I open my mouth half the time, and it's like
Absolutely.
if I heard that on anything and I read it the other night, I'm like, no, what? And that's something that's been a problem even with the Eternity War. There are these moments where they talk more earthly or earthling like
Yep.
than Eternian, and I've never been a fan of that. I always felt like the way that they talked set them apart. It shows you they're on a whole different world, and it's their customs, their languages, and the way they would speak to each other. And when I see that kind of stuff, it's like, I mean, Filmation had their corny moments, but even I don't think Filmation would have been this way if they had a fight scene.
No.
Like usually they didn't do the quips nearly that in the same way.
And it's
So it's like, yeah, lovely.
it's not well written. It feels out of place. It's just ugh. But he does end up getting bashed in the face and sent towards this magical pool where he can see that that Randor's forces are outside ready to storm the castle. And he thinks about how all the castles have had a sorceress, and that she would be able to open the door and everything. It's the next page here, where here again they're going gory with this anti-Eternia Tila, because she talks about how they waited for the sorceress to turn into Zor and cooked her and ate her. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Trying too hard to be edgy to me, but whatever.
Well, see, that part didn't bother me so much because I always did that whole thing of anti-Eternia He-Man is scary to me on a level of you don't realize the kind of evil a person would get to until you see what they're capable of.
Yeah.
So that for me was like, all right, that was a good reminder of these are the people he's up against. But they didn't go out of their way up until they have these little moments like that
Right.
to go, this is who you're up against. Everything else, it's like I said, it's like a Mario Brothers game. Every time they get to the end of the issue, I'm sorry, Keldor, the princess is in another castle. And then it's like, okay, off to the next world, and then like, okay, Crackers might be dead, but I don't think anybody cares.
No.
That's about the best you got going in this for deaths and the amount of evil he has, I guess.
And then so all these magical powers that Keldor has amassed throughout this journey, little pieces of Skeletor here and there, and he comes up. I still don't even understand this. He conjured spray paint cans out of thin air and
was
sprays
completely
them all in the face.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. That was one of those. Where the hell did that come from? That was like, there's nowhere on Eternia that they'd have spray can pans or spray paint can. Yeah, I said it right.
Yeah,
as far as I thought I said spray pan cans.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like that on Eternia that I've ever seen. So I was like, why would he even go to that?
It's the callback to the first issue where he's.
Oh, Jeebus.
Yeah.
And again,
but even then, I would say he's magically holding them up, not he conjured spray paint out of thin air,
Mm-hmm.
And I doubt that there was a pile of old cans in the corner of the Grayskull or Hellskull throne room, like.
Yeah.
Like that's an Orko gag right there. That's swapping the Starseed for a bouncy ball.
Yeah. I was not amused.
No. So. But then he gets the moment to, and same thing here. He's like, Tila's all ticked off, and anything else to say before we skin you alive? Tila's the best written character in this whole issue, by the way. At least she keeps a character.
Yeah.
He said, yes, just one more thing. Hail, King Randork. It's like, why would you, why at this moment would you call him Randork? Like, this whole, okay, so now we decide this whole thing is Prince Keldor and him growing up and accepting that he needs to do something to help, and he's talking juvenile like that.
Yep. Yeah.
And he does make a spell to open the drawbridge and let Randor's forces in, but it's like, that would have been a cool moment if they hadn't ruined it with juvenile writing.
Mm-hmm.
But
agreed.
I do like the scene of all the heroic evil warriors busting in. Oh, and I just saw Ninjor. I missed Ninjor on the first pass there. He's kind of hiding, sneaky like.
As a ninja, you'd think.
It is.
He lives up to the name. Yeah, like, again, like if this was built up better and I gave a crap about these characters, this would be me getting pumped to be, like, okay, we're getting to the good stuff. This is the big battle, and it's like we've only gotten to see these characters 5 issues ago. We don't get FaceTime with these people.
No.
And so me giving a crap about Randor and his plight with Anti-Eternia and all this stuff, it's like, how do I care right now? Like, how? I mean, right. I guess they went there last issue, I should say. So it wasn't 5 whole issues.
Just at the but that was the first time we saw the evil masters, and then in the first issue was when we saw all of Randor's forces, but not even all of them. It was mainly just Lynn and Red Beast Man. But this is what I wanted, I guess, is what my thing is. Like, this is cool because this is what I thought we were getting. Like, you get to come to this topsy-turvy world, and it's like, let's explore the differences. Let's explore the characters. Let's see how these forces interact in this new upside-down world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that could have been nice in and of itself. So it's a taste of what we got robbed of here in this series. So let's jump on ahead here. So we get in here, and Keldor and Randor have toss a little bit back and forth. Keldor's playing the woe is me. I can't be of any use for you. Randor's saying this is it. We're finally going to get our revenge for everything that's happened. And really, here, it's Keldor's Prince Adam because it's the setup for him to make the excuse like, oh, you can't use me here. I'm gonna take off so that he can go play the hero, like Adam would. Um, and here again, it's nice that they at least, yeah, and this is the only Eternia where they have, but they do make a reference to Adora here, which is nice, even though he just says, your daughter, you've lost your
Mm-hmm.
wife, you've lost your daughter, and your son. And Keldor's not going to let Randor lose his life. Keldor decided he's going to take this on himself. Luckily, Randor sends Panther after him, though. So.
Yeah.
And then we get down here where we finally, this is where we finally get the full force of his plan. So they're taking all of these doorways, because apparently that's how he's been able to travel to all the Eternias, is because here in the orb chamber they have these windows to all of the different Eternias.
Mm-hmm.
Why the most evil Eternia in the universe got all the pathways, who knows? But they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's
Convenience.
convenience. Oh yeah, and thank you, Arturo. I was gonna mention that. Yeah, and Randor doesn't even miss a beat with Keldor missing half his face. Like that's with everything else going on. It's like, oh, you're missing half your face. So yeah, I figured you would be by now.
It's just Wednesday.
Yeah. But yeah, I did think that too. We got talking too much. But yeah, it's like you don't even get a beat where he's like, what's going on? Some sort of acknowledgement. But yeah, so he's Anti-Eternia is using the spirits of Grayskull to take all these doorways and make them into one big doorway. So he's gonna essentially combine the Eternias and make only one universe, which I did say I thought that might be happening a few episodes back. So.
You did. You called that. You did call that.
So yeah, solid plan, I guess. So it's going to be a broken mirror where all existence reflects anti-truth. So it's going to be all his world. And then Keldor jumps.
We're just going to live in it.
We're just going to live in it. And then Keldor jumps in, which... Idiot! The anti-Eternia He-Man's so focused he's not even looking at anything. If he'd been able to shut his mouth here, he could have gotten a pretty good drop on him. But nope, he's got to make his quip. Nephew, keep this up, and you're definitely not getting any gifts from me next He-Man Day.
Oh boy!
Which actually, that one made me chuckle. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, that one made me chuckle. It still shouldn't have been there, but it made me chuckle.
Yeah,
We are.
All right.
No, I mean.
We are, but they're not.
Okay. Now we should be good. That was weird. I don't know, did I lose
I'm
you,
lagging
Sean?
on my side a little bit. I don't know if it. Everything's lagging on my side.
Alright, we're going to give it a second here to catch up.
There, it's caught up a little bit. I think.
You good?
Looks like.
All right, Arturo, you're still there. I hope. Let us know. Yes, we did cut out for a minute there, Arturo. We should be back now. Everything's looking good again. So about 30 seconds, you should be caught up with us. And what is going on with your video, Sean? Are you moving your phone?
Nope. Didn't touch it. I'm tiny. I'm Tapper's Sean. That's going to put Matt into the PTSD mode and tell him to kill it with fire. looks we're up and running better though. The delay is gone.
Yeah.
So.
All right, that was weird. So hopefully everyone's still here with us. All right, we're looking good now. Sean's normal size. That was a weird glitch. And Arturo says, why would there be a He-Man Day on Anti-Eternia? Well, playing devil's advocate here, like I like to do, when they were in the Filmation issue, it was during He-Man Day. So that's where Keldor picked that up. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your whole thing with the monologuing and all that stuff with Anti-Eternia, it goes completely against the grain of how I view him. So that also drives me nuts every time I see multiple word bubbles coming out of his mouth, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, but that's just me. That's just me.
Drop a note in the chat here. Should be running. Okay, we must be back because Arturo's answering me. So,
all right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we're good before we get too far ahead here. So yeah, so then they start their, their thing.
Their thing.
But yeah, it's they're arguing back and forth. It's Keldor's mad because he's trying to He-Man's trying to sound innocent, and he's the reason for all this. He dragged him across the multiverse. He made him pick up bits of Skeletor along the way here. And it's his fault that he became this half Skeletor, half Keldor thing. And He-Man mocks him, perhaps if you had fully committed, you would have had a chance. You've always been afraid. And you did it for yourself. You were just worried that you were the villain of the story and wanted to prove that you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's lost because the mirror is formed here. And he said, see the spirits, they are forming into one spirit to become the perfect anti-spirit. So all the spirits of Grayskull are going to go into this mirror here, and they're going to just become one giant spirit, and Anti-Eternia He-Man will have all the power, it looks like. And now Anti-Eternia He-Man's forcing Keldor to gaze into the orb of horrors here, which is what turned all the heroic warriors into this. And now this next panel is a little interesting. And it's showing Keldor the future, everything that's about to happen. It's the dark gods of destruction will regain their devout worshippers, and the combined forces of all the Eternias that he conquered will come under his command, and he will be their king. And I did like him here in the God Skeletor armor with the red armor going on with the Iron Cross. Like, once again, neat design.
Mm-hmm.
In an otherwise interesting book.
Yeah, when they went there, I was like, huh, they actually went there compared to, I don't know. It's the little things like that make me appreciate aspects of this.
Yep.
But it's the fact that there's so little weight to half of this stuff that it's like it's frivolous at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it's something nice to look at. The idea is cool, but then there's nothing in it that makes me go, I hope it gets to that point. Like,
yeah,
I don't care. It doesn't matter, but wow, at least I got to see that,
No, and that's it. It's like at least it's those little nuggets that make it so much harder to swallow, because it's like, okay, so you guys did this much, and you hit it here, but then you missed it on the broad strokes. It's irritating. But I was wondering what you thought these other worlds were. I mean, I'm assuming that top one is Thundera, was my guess. The cat-like creatures.
Yeah, it seems like it's probably Thundera. The other one, I couldn't even figure it out
I
though.
couldn't, but
And
that guy in the foreground looks so familiar, and I
I'll
can't.
have to take another look at it because on my phone screen it's really tiny anyway.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was just guessing. Like it seemed like there were cat people in the first one, and
yeah,
it's like if that's Thundera, that's Thundera. But then this is definitely one of those things that drives me up the wall about miniseries to me. And I've said it before. I'm going to say it again because this to me is also proof. It's like what in these miniseries has added up to where we are right now because they didn't follow through with what happened in Eternity War into the Thundercats, and then they didn't follow through with it to the Injustice.
right.
But now all of a sudden we're like looping back. But then it's like, well, you see that, and then you're like, well, maybe that's Thundercats again. They already. So
Yeah.
it's like that's confusing as hell too. Just trying to keep track of what's canon because these were mini series that seemed like they were one-off deals. So I guess maybe they're not, but I'm also not going to say they are because there's no guarantee that is Thundera. It could be something else. Like, where's Carnivus from?
Yeah,
It could be
true.
like an element of that from Eternia, maybe. You know, I can't remember the name of the village or whatever, but
Yeah, it's gonna bug me now because I can't remember. Thanks, Sean. But yeah, he just show and like in that one panel, there's like four different Tilas attacking there. So yeah, so basically like, and that was the other weird thing. It's like so he's combined all these Eternias, but they're all gonna be like one. Well, they're not going to be just like one big Eternia. There's going to be like four Tilas and seven Manny Faces, and so that seems to lead to believe that all the Adam and the He-Men will be there, the ones that survived, and any Skeletors and Hordax, and it's a little weird
yeah.
here, but so yeah, so there's going to be an infinite number of souls that are going to suffer, and now he's decided he's just going to kill Keldor. He's seen enough. So, but luckily then he is saved by some good timing and an iconic tone
Yep.
that I can't do. I figured if anybody could get it, it was you. It wouldn't be me.
I don't have perfect pitch like Kevin, but yeah. It's like, bah, bah, bah. I wish that thing would just shut off. Bah, bah, bah. But no, yeah, that and that's one of those moments too, where if this was like a TV show or a movie, this would have had a lot more weight to it. And I hate that this is how it's done in the comics because like when you see that moment, you're
Yeah.
like, well, I guess the cosmic key just activated because I see something, and they kept doing it through the other ones. So there is something to be said about sound effects are better than seeing the boo boo boop thing. It just
Well,
for the cavalry showing up, it somehow just doesn't have that kind of like It's like it's like hearing Super Mario Brothers get typed out on your screen.
well, and that's it. It's and it's partly that you can't actually hear it, but even at the same time, like me, I love. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love Han Solo swooping in and blasting Darth Vader's TIE fighter. I love the portal opening up where He-Man's in the throne room and Lubick and everybody busting through. I love anytime the chips are down and a hero's back is against the wall. I love it when you get that cavalry. Endgame,
Mm-hmm.
all the portals opening up. On your left, but here this didn't earn it. It didn't. Like
Mm-mm.
I said, you're so confused about who you're even rooting for. That I'm still not fully convinced at this point that Keldor is the hero of the story. Like I've said it for before, and in the other episodes, I felt this whole thing was leading to Keldor becoming the ultimate Skeletor, and this whole plan backfiring in the He-Men's faces. Like that's where I thought this was going.
Mm-hmm.
And just at this point, it's like and there's no there's no reason to believe that anybody's on their way. There's no reason to believe that there's anybody out there that even gives a damn who can do anything the way they've written it to this point. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And the thing, like in Endgame, for instance, that was earned from multiple movies of build up with these
mhm.
characters and knowing. I mean, you knew going into Endgame, okay, Black Panther's going to have Black Panther 2 eventually, and some of these characters are going to have sequels, but there was that you still go, but how?
Right,
How are they doing this? And when it finally happens, your heart is racing,
right,
going, this is that moment. Like, and you got like I'm still getting chills remembering how I felt watching
right.
that part. And in this part, here's how I described it to Matt in one of the very few messages that we had. This moment for me feels a little like you as the kid know how to play Masters of the
Mm.
Universe. You've read your mini comics, you read your DC comics, you watched Filmation, and you're like, okay, here's how this should work out, and you're directing your friends. And then all of a sudden your friends bring in a whole nother toy line and go, and now these guys are gonna come in, and you're like, what is that about? Who the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
Why is Batman on Eternia now or something? And it's like it's sort of the same thing. It's like who are these people? Like what the hell is happening here? Like
yeah,
there's nobody here that I would be like, yeah, like Fisto's coming in or Cyclone's
exactly.
showing up. It's like out of nowhere you have these people where you're like, I don't even know who the good guys are in this. What the heck is happening here?
And that's exactly and like you said, the Endgame analogy is perfect because up until that point, they had spent the entire movie trying to get their heroes back, trying to
Mm-hmm.
get their full forces back.
Yeah.
Which here again, we said in previous episodes, that should have been the point of this: is trying to gather the He-Men, trying to get an army to face Anti-Eternia,
Yeah.
and this should have been the moment where they're bursting through, they grab some cosmic enforcers, they grabbed, pull like mini comic Ram Man along with, Filmation Manny Faces, and like they're just coming through with all these warriors and just
Mm-hmm.
storming the castle.
Yep.
But it's not. Instead, we do get finally, King Adam, from the Eternity War series, which we did mention had been sorely missing up until this point, and he
Mm-hmm.
was featured on the original cover of issue 1. I'd pretty much written him out at this point. And he shows up with his He Force.
See,
Um,
it's not Zodak Force anymore. They've taken it. They've co-opted
you
it. So
beat
now
me to it.
that's why I couldn't say it Cosmic Enforcers the other time. But now they co-opted it. Now it's like, okay, I have to say Cosmic Enforcers, but
So
we have He Force.
we the He Force, who is
That sounds so 90s. I'm
it's
sorry, it just does.
it's King Adam, it's He Soul, Zack, Valiant, Valiantina, or is that Valiant and Tina? How many are there?
No, it's Valiant Tina,
That's her
and
name is
then that
Valiantina.
yeah, apparently
Like,
because that on Instagram yesterday morning, Tim Seeley actually posted 2 posts that had all of the designs for these characters, and it was Valiant Tina, if I remember correctly. I'm like 99% sure it was Valiant
yeah,
Tina.
no, there's not. Yeah, it is. It's Valiantina. That's what they call her.
Yeah,
Um, Hyra, Platino, and He Woe.
yeah.
Yeah, and as
When you end on that name, especially, it's like, man, you just trip coming out the door. Whoa, Maui,
He
just what
Woe,
brings us here today?
and
Oh.
I mean, I get what they did here. Like, I got it when I saw it, and you did send me those pictures that I looked at where he calls it out. It's the majority of them are based on a iteration of He-Man. One of the girls has the Thunder Punch armor. One of them's got the battle or the Flying Fist armor.
Hmm.
Platino is wearing the laser light armor. The widget one, who looks exactly like Squinch, is wearing the barbarian esque one with the horned helmet. and then you've got a humanoid battle cat, and I know that one is Zack the cat.
Yeah, and I think according to Instagram, he said some of these. I think Zach in particular is a character he came up with when he was a kid, and he dropped into this story.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like, okay, so now we have a new Mighty Spectre with that.
Yeah.
In that way, and it's like.
And I agree. And Arturo just got to our next point here, or my next point at least, is like Platino. That name. If people out there don't know, that was a Forza T character. Was Platino. He was the leader of the good guys, and Forza T is like a South American, I think Argentina, if I recall correctly. It was like their own toys they made using the He-Man molds, and it was all like mix and match parts. So it would have been cool, since they said Platino, if it actually looked like Platino, who used, it was like He-Man's body. It was like Randor's face because it had like the beard and goatee, and then he had Fisto's fist. Like, if they'd done that, okay, then yeah, throw in a humanoid battle cat. It's been thrown out there before.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it should have been cool little references to various things, not all these made up characters.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, or if barring that, it should have been all the Masters, because at the end of Eternity War, they showed how, and that's the basis of this we'll get to here, is, he made weapons for all the Masters so that they could all tap into the power of Grayskull. So it wasn't just one man controlling it anymore. So you could have brought any Masters we know and love. Instead, you brought these 5 guys or 6 guys that were like, oh, who are they?
Yeah. Any other time, there's a part of me that would have been like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because, like, I am somebody I'm one of the fans that I'm cool with it getting pushed to a new generation or to another level than what we've already had. Because, again, this could die with us depending if we can't get other people to enjoy it like we do and jump on board. That's kind of one of the strengths of the new She-Ra series was, hey, other people that aren't just fans of what we already have now are like, hey, this. And they at least, know of the name. They know of a lot of the things that now we have known in a different way. But in this one, it's like, I'm cool with it, but I'm cool with it when I actually give a crap about the character. And that's the difference here. It's like having them just show up and it be like this 90s splash page of these random heroes showing up. And Plantino was one where when I saw his name, I'm like, where is he? And I actually was like, ooh. And I looked and I'm like, who the crap is he? Because none of them are the guy from the Forza T. What the hell is happening? And then I had found out on Instagram that the laser light or the laser power armor guy was actually him. And I'm like, why did you do that? Like, you didn't need to do that. There was already a character design in place. And that's what fans know. You could have just done that, and that would have been a cool, hey, he showed up, but instead we're treated to King Adam and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And granted, like you said, Squinch is in there fine, but I didn't give a crap
really
about
Squinch
him.
because he's not, I guess it could be a transformed. I don't.
Squinch-esque.
Squinch-esque.
Squinch light.
And here's the other thing about this, once again, the not making sense stuff. They jump out the portal, and right away King Adam's like, engage the spirits. It's like, well, how'd you even know there were spirits here? Like, we didn't even know until 2 pages ago, and you weren't here for that. Like, all these guys jump through the portal, and they're just like, oh yeah, we got to stop the spirits of Grayskull. It's like, how do you know that? How?
Yeah.
And King Adam, he takes on Anti-Eternia He-Man. Keldor falls. Panther pulls a battle cat and saves him. And then we see the other visitors that came with them. It's the Filmation Adam, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Which here again, like this should have been a cool moment, and I want to feel this, like, yeah, they're here. And there was more for that trio than there was for the He-Force. But it still kind of fell flat with me.
Definitely. I don't know. Like, there's too much convenience in this one for me.
Yes.
Like you said, how did they know that the spirits were already assembling this stuff? How did they know this and that? And then on top of that, like it's the next page, I think, where there's basically a one line where well, how did you get the cosmic key to work?
Yeah.
Well, Duncan made one. And it's like, okay.
Like, okay, well,
it's like, I'll give you that, but that's like, to me, that was just like a, all right. I don't know. It just kind of bugged me in some ways that was just their quick and easy. Well, that's the easy way we could get it to work in the span of, we don't need to cover it faster than like one dialogue or whatever here.
Yeah, and then again here we got one dialogue as to why Anti-Eternity He-Man didn't seek out the Eternity War He-Man, and it's, Adam says, then we found him, a He-Man who Anti-He-Man couldn't, because he spread the power of Grayskull out amongst many. He shared it. Okay, so then how did you guys find him? Mm-hmm. Like, you just happened across, like, oh, we whipped up a cosmic key. Okay, I'll give you that. But then, like, we just happened to punch in the coordinates and wind up in, the Eternity War universe, and luckily he was there. And then we brought him with us. And then and even that, like, okay, so he spread the power of Grayskull out, but it's still the power of Grayskull. Like, just because, like, that's the only reason Eternia could track the power was because only one guy used it?
That was another one of those, I couldn't even make heads or tails of how that made sense to me. And you would think that would be a bigger red dot on the map of the multiverse for him, because so many people were wielding it that it'd be an easy target. Exactly. The only thing I can say, and I'm not trying to make any kind of, I'm not trying to help the story, because the story is not helping itself.
It needs all the help it can get.
The only reason that it makes sense to me that he didn't go there is because he knew that would be where he would budge. He would not be able to take on every single master wielding the power of Grayskull and kill all of them in order to collect what he wanted. And so he never bothered with it. But it also is weird to me then. I thought the whole mission of this, the whole thing was about he had to collect every single one in order to get to the end game that we're talking about. So how did he get to the end game if he didn't go up against all these other ones? So that confuses me as well. It's like, well, okay, if he passed it around and all that, well, that would be like, okay, he has to go and systematically kill every master in that reality, get that sword, and then now he can unlock it. So it's like there's a whole, the logic plot hole, just boom. It's like a freaking sinkhole that opened up for me trying to figure that out last night. And I'm like, I'm not even attempting this one. This is like, Tim Seeley wrote himself into this because that's what the setup of this whole thing was. And with him not having one of them, he shouldn't be here yet, in my opinion.
Exactly. So, and that was, I can't remember if it specifically said or if it was just implied, but it was definitely implied at least. So, it's frustrating. It's, and if they had said that, like, oh, he didn't dare go there. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, they specifically say, we found him, Anti-He-Man couldn't. He could not find him. And yeah, it's just, it's bad writing again. And nothing takes us off more than bad writing.
It's a mess. I mean, that whole thing just, and then, like, I want a concise, this is what the whole point was. This is what his plan was. And if the plan is he needs all the power swords, then it's he couldn't get to issue 6 then. There's no way around that. That just bugs the hell out of me, because that should be like, every He-Man should be against the ropes, and the only one left is Keldor now to do what it has to be done, instead of here's your on your left moment with the He-Force showing up. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and then after that, it's like we get treated to the lamest He-Man transformation variant ever. So luckily King Adam gave Filmation Adam a sword, and it gives him really lame-looking armor. I'm like,
well, and I the thing about that for me was you really can't mix styles.
No.
You can't make this new armor show up on Filmation and expect that to not look garish and weird. And I also was just like, how the heck? I missed that completely when I read it, apparently. So I'm like, where did he get this sword? And it's like, okay, if King Adam gave it, fine, but I don't know. Like, there's an element of that where I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of this whole, you have the geometric shapes and the sigils now glowing on people. And I know they ended Eternity War that way, but I'm still not 100% into that look either. Because to me, that is more of like a New Gods or like, something along those lines that DC would do with Darkseid and some of that stuff versus this is Masters. Masters to me is warriors, and they don't need to be glow in the dark warriors. They can just be, here's He-Man, here's his sword, we're good to go, and so I'm still not sold on that look in general, and it just doesn't fly on Filmation. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So, yeah, especially on Filmation. Like, I was good with it at the end of Eternity War. I mean, it was a good ending, but yeah, to see Filmation, and here again, we're robbed of Filmation.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Like out of all of the ones that you wanted to hear, well, not hear, but
like,
see do the transformation.
Like, do an iconic transfer. At least stop to do a transformation for him. I mean, he just does it in front of Keldor and like jump. Like, he doesn't get a panel devoted to it. Like, give me the castle in the background. Give me the lightning show, the effects. Like, even in panels, you can do it better than this. Yeah. But yeah, so then, all the He-Force, Adam, Filmation, they're all attacking the spirit of Grayskull. And then they their plan is to draw the spirits back into their power swords. Okay. So we've already decided that that's how they got here in the first place. Was anti-He-Man sucked all the power into his sword and then brought them here. So reverse. Okay. And then they all answer, "Yes, sir, annoyingly chipper He-Man."
Yay. I hope that's something that doesn't go further than this stuff, because I really didn't like. I understood why they did it, but it was still like this Joss Whedon snideness to that line when they did it that just made me go like, it's cutesy. Okay, fine. That's his way of dealing with it. But I honestly don't think Keldor would be that guy to be that naming them that way. And it's like, all right.
And not only that, but okay, I was all right with it in the Filmation episode when it's like, oh yeah, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're always looking down at me, like, and then like, who's he? Well, annoyingly chipper. Like, that's like, okay, whatever. It was a throwaway line, but Keldor hasn't met any of these people, so that means that Adam went through the portal to Eternity War world and introduced himself as annoyingly chipper He-Man. Like, that's just... Oh, that's not good. No. That's not good writing.
No. It's also, to me, it's more of that, okay, we're going to talk like Earth people again, and that drives me up the wall, too, because I try my best to be open-minded in whatever iteration I'm dealing with, but I'm not loving the, like, even the new She-Ra did it with the way that they talk, and it's like, make it feel like you're in another world when they talk. You don't have them talk like we do here. We already have enough of that here. We don't take people don't even take each other seriously because of the way we talk around here. Why would we throw this on other characters from a whole nother planet, So, yeah.
Yeah. But moving on, we got Man-Arms, Orko, Keldor, and Panther, and they're, Keldor's being emo, whiny again, and, oh, woe is me, I'm a villain, blah, blah, blah. And then they see that Anti-Eternity He-Man isn't as down for the count as they thought he was. And he's worried that they actually have the strength to overcome his evil spirits, so he's going to use the Orb of Horrors to... Basically the same thing he did in the Filmation issue, where he's trying to absorb or corrupt them like he has all the heroic warriors. That page there. But here again, this is a nice action scene, like them trying to control the power and it turning on them and absorbing them, you know,
Yeah.
corrupting them. It's these little moments here where it's like, okay. Um, and Manny just joined us. Welcome, Manny.
Aha.
He tried to avoid it for as long as he could. Um, so, uh, so yeah, so you get the you get all the He Force being being corrupted. Anti-Eternia thinks he's won here again, and Keldor makes the decision to really mess with him. He's he jumps in, he jumps on his back, he tries to choke him out basically, and he finally realizes who he's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I before we even get to that
Yeah,
moment,
go
they
ahead.
had to go and do yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Remember that there, and I'm like, I
Nah.
am like we need to find a way to just either white out or scrub people's memories of that being something for Keldor slash Skeletor. It was never a thing.
No,
It became a thing because of the internet.
stupid internet.
I hate that. Like that just like of course I knew who it was going to be from that. And then it's like, well, do we need to keep doing this? Like, no, we don't need to keep making that noise and having it always be Skeletor. But anyway, yes. So we get to what I considered to be like I saw it coming, but I also was
Oh
like,
yeah, I called it uh, one of our episodes. I don't know.
yeah, I think it was the third, the time we talked about it the second time. I
Yeah,
think if I
yeah.
remember
When we
right.
focused on the third issue, I said he's either going to become
Yeah,
a Skeletor or he's going to become a He-Man.
and so now we know Keldor is a He-Man.
But yeah, and but this part here again is like, so Keldor had half of the power sword from the Prime Eternia, those first four mini comics he turned.
Hmm.
Half. Excuse me. And here he combines his half a power sword with Anti Eternia He Man's power sword. That's not the way those power swords work.
Apparently
um,
they do here.
it's I don't get what they were doing here. Why he's combining? Why didn't he just take the sword? Why didn't they just have him wrestle the Anti Eternia sword away from from He Man? Oh,
Yeah.
oh Lord, Sean, we got. I knew I
Mm.
smelled something.
Uh
We have a Rod and a Motto in our chat room right now. What's up, Joe Amato? How you
oh.
doing
Joe
tonight?
Amato.
Thanks for tuning in. You're a little late, but we'll forgive you.
Better late than
He
never,
doesn't
and
do
we're in the
too,
middle of the.
he doesn't
Huh?
do too good with the time zones.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
And he says, "Sweet Christ, not the multiverse comic."
Well, look at it this way: we're done after this one. There's no way
Yes,
around it. We're
yes.
done.
So you guys keep talking. We'll get to your comments in a minute here, but thank you all for joining in. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
so now finally we have the big moment. He combines his half a power sword with a full power sword, and that makes a purple full
Power,
power sword. And
power sword and a half.
and so now, by the power of Grayskulls, I can have the power.
Yeah, it's like, please, sir, may I have some more?
I was
I
thinking
can have the
I
power.
was thinking like that little the like dog, isn't it? It's like I can has
I
cheeseburger.
can, I can has power.
I can has power.
I can has Grayskull.
Ugh. It's like I
Uh
saw the
huh.
moment coming, but the way they did it was just so like cringeworthy. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's I can have the power, and the look's not even good. He looks like the genie of the lamp, like with a harness on him. He's
Yeah. It never has one issue that was supposed to be the climactic issue had more anticlimaxes, which makes me go, this must have been the anti-Eternia of comic books, because nothing in this whole entire last issue has made me get like excited. It's made me cheer. It's made me actually care. All of it is just this huge crammed full of what the crap, and it plays out in front of you, and you're just sitting there going, I'm reading this, I'm going to get to the end, and by the end of it, I'm going to not understand everything that happened here,
right.
But I'll say, at least it's finished. That's kind of how this book reads to me, and this is one of those moments, like, this should have been a moment that got you at least chills, because, hey, this character who I've been with for 5 issues leading up to this point, and he's somebody that never stepped up. He's somebody who has been timid and afraid, or, all this other stuff. That he's the opposite of a hero. He's stepping up to be a hero. And all I see in this moment is, so that's what Skeletor would look like if he got He-Man's sword.
Yeah.
That's about it. And it really, really was. I hate to say this now. I'm going to say it anyway because it just came in. This page is the perfect example of blue balls, because you're like looking at this because he's blue. I can't help it. But you're looking at this page and you're going. I should feel something here, but all I feel is just really weird, because this isn't how I thought it was going to work out, and none of everything leading up to this point made me give a crap. And here's this page, and I go, okay. I'm sorry, that's the effect it had on me.
Yeah, no, exactly it. And we'll go right to the next page here after I drop that down. And Joe says that we're all gonna need the Men in Black memory eraser after this is done. It's better just not to know. And no, Manny, I will not burn this comic. That's Tyler Baker's thing. I wouldn't want to infringe on his copyright.
We'd have to pay him like $20 if we did that on air tonight. So,
and so now, and here's the thing: like you said, it's too convenient, it's too easy. So just by him transforming, the spirits of Grayskull are tamed again. Like, they're fine. And now we have the Dark Gods here, which were controlling this stuff from behind the scenes all along somehow. And
they brought it up once, and now we go back to it, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is also
last issue. It was only issue 5. That was the first time they mentioned Dark Gods in.
Yep.
So 1 issue ago they mentioned these guys, and they don't even look the same as they do here. So
yeah.
But yeah, so it's these creepy crawly things, and and so Keldor's got all the spirits in him. He feels it flowing through his body. And luckily, Panther transformed into Battle Panther somehow, just by him saying it and not pointing the sword. And he takes out Anti-Eternia He-Man. Keldor just like shoots the Dark Gods, and they're destroyed. Way too easy. It's way too convenient. Way too easy here. Like, it's like that was it. You had the whole He-Force fighting them, and they couldn't do anything. But all it took was Keldor transforming, and he just shakroom. I beat everything. I win.
This whole 6th issue should have been everybody's backs are against the wall. Like you were saying, you love those moments. This whole issue should have been that. And like you're saying, everything is happening within a panel. And that's mind-blowing to me when you had 5 issues leading up to this point, and you're getting all of these solutions just by, here's the next panel, and that's it. And you're like, that wasn't earned. There's nothing about this that feels earned. And there's nothing about Keldor that made me go, yay. It made me go, like, I don't even know this guy. They made me introduced to every version of He-Man up to this point. Why do I care when that was the point of all these issues? And now all of a sudden on the 6th issue, I'm supposed to give a crap about him. No, it doesn't work like that.
No.
So, yeah, this whole thing. Oh my god! I can't wait until you told me to get some of the reviews I was finding last night. I can't wait to get to that after we're finished, because man, is that okay. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I can't wait for that. So
yeah. So then we jump, and basically, I mean, there's not a lot left here. They start all the, Keldor says, I held aloft the magic sword. I said the magic words. The secrets were revealed to me. Um, and basically, by him destroying the dark gods, there are all these people that were corrupted are changing back into their
Yep.
normal forms.
And that's a whole
Oh, that's a whole can
crap
of
fest.
worms. Like,
Oh
so
yeah.
all of them were just puppets being controlled by these dark gods is what they're going here. So everyone's a good guy now. Everyone's good. They're back. Um,
With
ex-
a ton of PTSD
right.
thrown
Like
in. I mean,
how do
this
you
whole moment.
forgive these people? Like the sort Tila ate her mother in this continuity. Like you don't
Yeah.
come back from that. Like
Well, that was one of the things I at least appreciated because they have focused on her being the most savage of them because they've given her out of any anti-Eternia character besides He-Man,
yeah.
they gave her those lines. So you've seen the depths that she's gone to. When you see her in there and she's like, "Oh God, Father, Father," and all that stuff, and I'm like, this is going to be the least fun universe to ever go back to if they ever want to dip their toe back in this because Tila is just going to be messed up from now on.
Yeah.
And no, I don't need that either. I don't need this kind of stuff. It just doesn't work.
No, it's and then you see that Adam's been like completely consumed by the power. He's wasting away because it's gone, and
Mm-hmm.
and here it's like he says he wanted the power. He wanted the chance to be something more than a bumbling, philandering prince, to be more than a disappointment. Um, and that just shows that they don't get the character of Adam because we've gone over this too many times now. Adam is not the bumbling, philandering prince. He's not just a disappointment. That is an act that he puts on to maintain his identity. It's what he gives up to be He-Man. Um, and in this Adam, they just made him that guy, and he's nothing after this. Like it's
Well, it also messes up a lot of this storytelling in a whole nother way for me because how is it that if that was that version of Adam, okay, if this is an anti-reality, how is it that he was still that Adam that like I get what you're talking about. It doesn't fit with the character, but what I'm saying is he
yeah,
still fit the bill in this reality.
sure,
So you have him playing that part, whether or not he was playing a role, and underneath he was still the real deal. But why did they need to have that when there's already Keldor?
yeah,
You have two characters that are basically playing the same role in this reality then because Keldor's just being Adam.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, then what the hell? Like, why tell this story? The whole, and again, this goes back to me just having my own personal fanfic in my head of how Anti-Eternia worked. But
Yes,
I kind of took it that Anti-Eternia was not set up with the typical, the way it was. Like, Adam would have been a bastard.
yeah,
Adam would have been somebody that he came from. He would have been. It would have been like a Game of Thrones reality where he was like sitting on a throne of skulls and crap like
mm-hmm.
that. Like Vigo the Carpathian, I sat on a throne of blood. That
Yeah,
would have been Adam. And so Keldor would have had to be the Adam that we know to offset how evil that was. And
mm-hmm.
yet, no, there isn't anything like that. It turns out at the end, it's still Adam.
Right.
But he wants
He was just
that for me just it fell flat way more than I would have expected it to.
same thing with me. I did not. I wanted to see that this was the He-Man. This was the Adam who became He-Man and never turned back. He completely became He-Man. He became evil. Like you said, he was one of the baddest villains in the entire multiverse. And no, it just these dark gods were controlling him.
Yeah.
No, this guy should have been the ultimate evil of this universe. Like
Yeah.
he should have been the Skeletor. If Keldor was supposed to become the He-Man, then Adam needs to become the Skeletor, and that's not what happened here. Again, we got the sympathetic villain angle. Let's feel sorry for him. He just got corrupted. He wanted to do good. I'm sick of it.
That almost had a Skeletor vibe. I'm sick of it. Beastman. No, like
I am though. It's all media nowadays. It's got to be these sympathetic villains. These I didn't mean to. These I was controlled. I was.
Going back to even the end game, which I know I've gone to that
Yeah.
50,000 times reviewing this with you. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, Thanos believed what he felt was right.
Right.
He didn't make excuses and he didn't apologize because he thought that the way he saw it was going to be the answer. And he had no other way around it except for when he finally came up against Cap, Iron Man, and Thor in that final confrontation. He's like, I'm just going to kick it. I'm going to kill everything.
Yep.
Like, you guys have proven me wrong. There's no half anymore. It's all going. And that made the stakes even higher. And then you have like, oh crap, now you really got to stop this guy. And but in the case of this, yeah, it's like every time there's always this sympathy. And it's like, how about a guy just sticking to what he believes is what is the cause? Because at the end of the day, isn't that why you're doing it? Aren't you like believing in your cause? Isn't that why you're doing your plan? And like you're saying, it turns into this sympathetic version of him. And I would have figured he would have still been like, spitting blood in their face and,
right.
When this was all over and like laughing at them or something because they can't stop the darkness or something. And instead it turns into this and you're like, no matter what, the whole miniseries has ruined my opinion and my whole idea of what Anti-Eternia is supposed to be based on what I've read about it. And that is one of the biggest parts that bothers me is, okay, so this is the first time since the audio play that we've had the chance to see this new reality. And I actually got to ask Tim Celia about this a little on Council, the first ones, where I was like, so how does it feel to be the person who's putting the words into this version of He-Man's mouth when no one other than the fan community knew this existed? And it's like, this is out there now for public consumption. All these people can read it who aren't Masters fans. And there's a part of me that's going, this is the equivalent of somebody watching Batman v Superman and telling me that's their version of Superman and me just screaming and bashing my head into a wall because it's like, this is not what it's supposed to be. This is just somebody's weird version of what they wanted to tell a story of, but it doesn't necessarily mean the mythology backs all this up.
Exactly.
And, it's very much like, don't believe Zack Snyder and what he believes in Superman. Read the books, and this is a great example of what you wanted to do with this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, get to the source, get to the information, get to the literature, and just dig in and have some fun with it. And in the case of this, all of that pretty much paved the way for me going, I want to see what happens here. And now that we get to the end, I'm like, so nothing that I believed was true here.
No,
it's like, and even it's such a bummer.
And even now, Anti-Eternia is rid of its evil now. Like, they're good now. Like, that's it. It's all. It was just a footnote. The whole evil He-Man was just a footnote in this planet's history. Whereas it should be like that's the big thing in this Anti-Eternia.
Yeah.
And we get the wrap up here. Filmation. He-Man got his sword back. This really bugged me, though. This was probably my biggest pet peeve of the issue coming up here. King Adam took the rest of the power swords and began assigning them to his personally chosen disciples. And those champions were sent to worlds ravaged by Anti-He-Man to help rebuild their castle Grayskull. Who gives King Adam the right to decide, So now we get it was bad enough that these baloney characters popped up here in the first place, but now they each get their own Eternia to replace a He-Man? Like,
See, I'm going to be honest with you. This bugged me less than half the other stuff I just ranted about, because this, for me, it was like, okay, like at the end of it, it's like, I've gotten pummeled enough by how much this thing didn't do right by me that by the end of this, I'm like, I guess that makes sense. Okay, Tappers gets He-Wo, and it's like it doesn't necessarily play up to what I was wanting to see or expecting.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, fine. If you're gonna have 87 He-Man gone, at least they have a new guy in place. And I have to go back to it again. Tim Seeley said one of the things about writing as a freelancer is you got to leave people hoping that they want to see more of what you've done, and you leave these little seeds. So when I saw that, I'm like, well, these are the little seeds he's talking about, and it's like they're not enough to make me get like, ooh, I want to see them. But I will say, I'll give cred in this one moment. I know this is probably going to be like making your teeth itch, but I'm going to say it. Crimson Countess.
Yes, I was
there. Okay. And congratulations, Danielle Galert, for getting her fan creation having a cameo in here, even though it's the book it is.
Yeah.
That's still cool. She showed up.
That was my one good part about this page, is that the Crimson Countess got put in there when I told what world she's in. But my thing is here because they did like. Okay, like you said, okay, if 87's gone, then at least someone else has taken his place. But in whatever happened there, they've already revived people. Because Tapper's Teela is there next to Squinch He-Man. And we found out back in issue 3 that Tapper's Teela was dead.
I forgot about that. So, okay.
So did the writer, apparently.
That should have been our tagline for this. So did the writer, apparently.
And even and I couldn't. I did look up the Tapper thing, and he did say, he said he wished he could have told Teela how he felt when they're in the prison cell in the 2000X universe. He's told that Teela they wished he could have told Tapper's Teela how he felt before Anti-He-Man destroyed the world. So they put some of these worlds back, but they didn't bring the He-Men back. Instead, we put in these random characters here to take over these Eternias. That's what bugs me. It's like, if you're going to put these worlds back together and put the Grayskulls back together, why couldn't you just put the He-Men back too? Like, and I said that back after New Adventures issue. Like, if they don't correct some of this by the end of it, that's going to take it down for me. Because I'm all right with you killing some of those people off. It's a magical story. At the end of it, you have ways of bringing these characters back. But here they're saying, nope. Any He-Man that died is officially dead. And if we ever see anything from their world again, it's going to be with He-Soul and T-Wow and P. Diddy and...
T-Wow. I like that one. Where's the character design for T-Wow? I like that.
He looks like one of those guys from Jersey Shore with a power sword.
Well, I was actually going to say T-Wow would probably be like the J-Lo of He-Man. She had that kind of vibe in the name.
But it was nice seeing the Crimson Countess here. And then they talk about some newly born Eternias, where the legend of He-Man might begin anew. Looks like they're referencing the Origins line coming out, or maybe Revelation. But that's supposed to continue Filmation, so no. I really don't know why they did that in silhouette there, though, because if it's Origins, it's like we've seen all the first wave of figures. Like, that's Man-at-Arms, Man-Faces, He-Man. The other blobs could be anybody, but like the majority of those we've seen already, so why couldn't you just color them?
I didn't figure it was Origins. I figured it was one of those, hey, let's let the readers put their own versions to these silhouettes, and then they can say, hey, my version is cred too. Because I mean, you gotta actually, for as nuts as this thing was and how much it beat the crap out of my own headcanon, which pissed me off, it's like there's that moment there where it's like, hey, your headcanon still probably exists somewhere.
Yeah.
That with those silhouettes, but yeah, I'm kind of glad that they didn't do Origins or Revelation, even though I know we brought those up in seeing how this might wrap up. Because with everything else that they did in this, it's like, yeah, I don't need that right now. This needed to have a bow on it before I can worry about something that's coming up next.
Yeah, and then we get to the final panel here where we wrap all the way around to issue 1. They come across that graffiti of King Randork looking like a Simpsons character. and Keldor's talking about, he can. He's grown up a little bit, but not completely, and he's committing to Lynn now, and
Now, now that he has half a face.
yeah, like I thought that too when they're sitting there making out. It's like, well, that's a little,
Ugh.
but
Well,
some chicks are into that, I guess.
I was gonna say she must really dig him if she's going full on make out
Right.
and he's got half a face. Because man, ugh.
And then Screech shows up, warning of trouble, and Keldor raises his sword aloft, and they take off. So basically, they like I said, they defeated Anti-Eternia He-Man, and now Keldor is the He-Man of this world. So, and then it ends with him. He changed the graffiti from "Hail King Randork" to "We can all have the power."
Which feels like they were really trying to go Eternity War at the
Yeah,
end,
that's
and it fell flat. It fell so flat with that graffiti, and it just it did not work there.
And it worked for me in Eternity War. That last issue of Eternity War when Adam's just like monologuing to the camera there, and he's talking about I'm spreading out the power. Where you can have the power too. And he's like holding the weapon out to you. Like that really worked. And this is like a pale imitation of that right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is a nice little note which I actually didn't even notice until just now down in the credits here. And to answer your guys' question, Manny asked who wrote this, and it was Tim Seeley was the writer. And I closed my page too quick. Tom Derenick was the artist for the latter half of it. Colors by Matt Yackey. Letters were Seda Tamafante. The cover was by In-Hyuk Lee, who did quite a few of them. Edited by Michael McAllister, with a special thanks to Rob David and Melanie Shannon Hill, who both work at Mattel TV. And Rob David put a little note in here. Thanks for mastering these worlds with us. Here's to new worlds to come. So yeah, we got some new worlds to come. As we wrap this up here, guys, if you got any questions for us, go ahead, drop them in the chat room below. We'll follow up with some of those. Go ahead, throw them out there now so that they're ready. But yeah, so the ending fell flat to me here. It mimicked Eternity War, but it wasn't as good. And Arturo asked if we about an interview with the writer. We did not do an interview with Tim Seeley. Sean is on another podcast, Council of the First Ones, and they did an interview over there. So
yeah, we've
Sean
had
two
at least
times me.
I cheat on Matt once every other Sunday. I cheat on him for a little bit, but we've talked to Tim Seeley I think 2 times now. Pretty much anytime a new issue would come out near the halfway point, we started having him on the show and talking about stuff. And so yeah, he's got ideas, but I think these ideas needed to be pared down and streamlined way more than they were able to in this. And there is a part of me going, who's the one that lost control of the ship here? Because there's so much crap in these issues, and it's like Masters is one of those. Masters is the sort of brand where I feel the storytelling it was one of the strongest stories out of the 80s stuff we grew up with. There was definitely like the storytelling in this mattered in that way. And this for me was like such a what the hell with the storytelling that it just I don't want to say it sullied the name of Masters for me, but it felt like this is a pale imitation of what you can do with the actual ideas of Masters.
Yeah, I agree, and it's like we had so much hope for this, and I think it was Arturo said that too. Oh, and hi Lacey Dean. Sorry, I missed it when you slipped in there. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, there was so much potential here, bringing in all these different eras, and this is a property that has so many characters, so many stories, so many years of history, And the fact that you're wasting most of it on Anti-Eternia with these guys we have not met before this is very disappointing. The fact that you make Keldor the focal point of all this is very disappointing. This could have been a very easy introduce a He-Man, have him gather other He-Men, and go up against Anti-Eternia He-Man. Like that, and it would have given us all the chills in the world. Bring in the greatest hits, the heroic warriors, the masters. Should have had them all show up in this last year. Just have the multiple. Think about 5 Eternia's worth of masters of heroic warriors piling into that throne room. Just imagine what that would have done for you. Like, it's such a hodgepodge. They can't decide what they're gonna do, where they're going. The plane's not revealed till too late. The Green Goddess is on this cover. She hasn't shown up anywhere in six issues.
Yeah.
What's she even doing there?
And this cover is weird enough as it is because you have 87 Dolph He-Man there, and Gwildor. What the hell's that about?
Yeah. Like, I figured that they're the ones who set the plan in motion. So that's, okay.
I felt like it implied there was maybe their back, though. And that's the thing. It's like it almost feels like a bait and switch because I liked him. I actually was like rooting for him the most out of all of the iterations that were on the journey of this. And then when we got our ending with him in the last issue, I'm like, well, maybe they find a way to bring him back, and he's the one holding the line against Anti-Eternia while, Keldor's figuring something out. No.
Well, that's and I think if anything else, if it wasn't necessarily the bait and switch, but it was the fact that they released these covers so far in advance that if 87 He-Man wasn't on there, people would go, okay, he definitely dies.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I'll give you that.
But yeah, it's a mess of a cover. It's a mess of a series. It could have been so much. And honestly, up until issue 3, I had hopes. Even with my reservations about issue 2, I still had hopes that they would get it going in the right way. And they didn't.
Well, this seems like a good enough spot, if any, to jump in with. I found these reviews last night, and I've been trying to find other ones, and these were the only ones I could find leading up to the show today. And some of these I've never even heard of the website, so don't take it that I'm just, this guy said that, and then you're looking it up going, where the hell's this website or whatever. But LylesMovieFiles.com, Jeffrey Lyles, he was one of the first ones that came up when I did a search, and he says, I'm going to paraphrase. I'm not going to read the entire reviews for anybody, but it turns out there was no need to worry at all about Tim Seeley and Tom Derenick sticking the landing with this multiverse-spanning He-Man saga. And then at the end, he says, the payoff is excellent and truly made the investment and interest in this miniseries worthwhile, rating 10 out of 10. And then we have SciFiPulse.net doing a review. Ian Cullen did the review. And he says, overall, Tim Seeley delivers a very satisfying conclusion to what has been a rather uneven story. All right, so he admits it at least. It's an uneven story, which might have been told in a better or more concise way over fewer issues. I agree with that. I agree that it could have been told in a concise and an easier way, but it probably needed more issues even to tell that story.
Well, if you were going to just do the basics, basically, if you were going to tell this story, just
paring it down,
just put it on Anti-Eternia and be done with it, and just tell that little bit. I agree.
Yeah. So, and then he goes into a bunch of stuff, but he says even the ending of the story was as sappy and preachy as I remember the 80s TV series to have been overall a solid conclusion. And then there was one other one I found here, forcesofgeek.com, where, let me see here at the very end, basically Tim Seeley has created a dual masterpiece. Masters of the Multiverse not only stands on its own, but has created a new and rich comic book universe. Perhaps this was the plan all along. The mythology and continuity are not only intact, boy, that's got to make you hurt, but have been expanded upon to set the stage for newer stories. Seeley's shown that not only does he get Motu, which I hate saying that too, but he also respects it. Okay, Matt, your head should be exploded by
It
now.
is. I'm holding up. I'm holding up issue 2. Really, the mythology's intact? Tell me the mythology's intact.
And like I said, I've never heard of these reviewers. I couldn't find any of
Yeah.
the main ones I would go to, so take these with a grain of salt. But basically, this reviewer says, I hope Seeley will steer the ship going forward. No matter what happens going forward, Masters of the Multiverse finished on the strongest note imaginable and should make for a great graphic novel, rating A+. So I brought this up to you in our messages, and this was the most we got into it with going back and forth. And it's interesting because here we have fans. We are very much, safe place. Come to us, fans.
Yes.
Enjoy some of this talk and geek out with us. And we have the fans that understand the mythology, whether you come from Filmation, mini comics, 2000X, whatever. You're here.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that now that they've seen this, they're like, what the crap? And they're questioning how much does Tim Seeley even like Masters, because this was written by this guy and he's supposed to have loved this all along. And then the thing that interests me is we have these, I'll call them looky-loos.
Yeah.
Who, here they are. They know of the name of He-Man. They know of the brand of Masters of the Universe, but they're not into it like we are. And now here we are getting these people looking from the outside in going, this was awesome. Batman versus Superman, in my opinion, or something along those lines, where it's like, this doesn't have the heart of any of what I love about this stuff, but you guys think this is great. So in this weird way, I'm scared for the fact this is now, there are people who are claiming this was well written, this is this is that, and I'm looking at it just going, even the little bit about the, could have been told concise or better or cleaner. But it's like the guy still gave it an A+ at the end of the day. Like, this is not an A+ by any means. I don't understand how anybody would find that to be like, C is the highest I could give it. That's being very generous too.
It's a muddy mess. It goes all over the place. And like you said, it's basically the only people who are probably really enjoying it are the people who know little about Masters, who know little about He-Man. They remember him from childhood, but they haven't kept up, and they're the ones who like the 4 non-blondes and the Geico commercial and these little memes and the Dirty Dancing thing, and they're just like, haha, yeah, He-Man, he was silly, and then they pick up that Filmation and go, haha, yeah, look, he was silly. And it's not good for the brand. This is not He-Man. This is not Masters. I mean, this is... Even when Filmation showed up, it did not feel like Filmation. It felt like a caricature of Filmation. New Adventures was not New Adventures at all, other than looking like a toy. Even the mini-comic guy, he really, he was closer than some of them, but, as Sean knows, they pulled a lot out of their butts for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's and like you said, C at best, which for us, we're an out of 10 scale, so that'd be a 5 out of 10.
I can't even give it that. I'm not even gonna lie.
No, I'm a 4. I'm a 4 out of 10 for the series as a whole. It had some enjoyable moments. It had some good moments. And really, the only thing bringing it up to a 4 for me is that 2000X issue. I still like that one. That one got it right. I really thought Tim had found his groove there, and I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, for me, in the whole overscope of things, I'm going to actually do a little more, and I'll say 3. 3 out of 10 for me. That one issue was enough for me to take it a little higher than what it needed to be for me in that way. And, this ending was such a cluttered mess. Mm-hmm. And the storytelling was just, it needed to be conciser. There's no reason I can't figure out if he decided to do, okay, every issue has to be a new iteration, so we're going to that universe, because there's an element of that where I'm like, I don't want to do a drive-by of something that I love. I want to enjoy what I love.
Absolutely.
Why would I do that? And that just bugs me. And like that 2000X issue was pretty darn good compared to some of the other stuff, but even that, it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to see them again either. You know,
Yeah.
like there's that element of this was my send off, and it was in the middle of a cluster. You know, like wow. You know, like I did not enjoy reading it. I read it out of I wanted to see how it ended. It didn't mean that I was excited. I was enthused. It just meant this is it. This is the final issue. Let's just see how this plays out. And once I finished it, I'm like, you saw it. I'm like, well, that happened. You know, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's yeah. Zen Brown in the chat room, he says he gives it a polite C, as expected. Arturo is confused as to how the hell it can stand on its own if it needs other works to stand.
Agreed by that.
Manny thinks all of your reviewers are high, by the way. And Joe Amato thinks that I need a big bottle of aspirin right now.
You when I was reading those reviews, I was actually feeling sorry. I thought you were probably going to like you were going to go all red faced, and we might have to call 911 or something.
Yes, it's possible. Arturo brings up there's another He-Man series besides Revelations coming out. Yes, it could have been alluding to that too. The He-Man and the Masters of the Universe on Netflix, the CGI one, which we're hoping is going to be more episodic. Arturo says, could you imagine a scene where Anti-Attorney He-Man is about to kill Keldor, only for 87 He-Man to appear and shoot him with his pistol? You see he's still hurt, but Mini Comics Tila is helping him up. Like, yeah, like, I mean, that would have been so much better than King Adam in the He-Force. Like,
it's a character we got invested in, and honestly, like out of some of the things that I thought were like, if we have to go with positives and negatives about the thing, and negatives we've already covered a huge amount, so I'll go with some positives here to not go completely bad. But they made me like 87 He-Man. They really made me actually care. And when they killed him off, I was like, well, crap, now I don't care. Like that was the character that made me having the most. I'm invested in this, and I think at this point of everybody in their fandom, there is a certain amount of, you know, we look at Dolph in a different way. We look at that version and go, that might not have been Filmation, and that might not have been what we have been loving to this point, but there's still something about that from our childhoods where it's like, yeah, but if you hear that cosmic ketone, if you see that moment of He-Man getting the sword out of the lock and yelling, I have the power in the throne room, there's still something that gives you goosebumps. There's still something that gives you that like pulse of energy in you that go like, you know, that still works in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that about it. Tim Seeley did all right with making him a character that I gave a crap about, which was great. 2000X was a great issue, in my opinion. That still stands up as the best thing out of what happened here.
Yep.
But beyond that, positives, I don't have it. I will say the new additions are characters that if I knew who they were, there's a part of me going, I could maybe be curious about what happens with them or something, because there is something to saying, hey, there's these different versions of him. It's not just all Adam across the board now. Where I'm like, okay, what's their story? Right. But I didn't have enough time to give a crap about that. They were thrown into a few panels, and that's all we got.
Too many new characters. And Arturo is curious, do you think King Adam gave 2000X He-Man a new sword, or did he just get replaced too?
I don't think he got replaced.
No, I think he probably gave him back his power sword like he did Filmation. But here again, like they didn't even... He was the only other Adam to survive, and he didn't even get a mention in this last issue. Like, you know...
Well, I'm glad, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad. That reality has their He-Man still. He might not have power sword, when they left him, but at least still there, and things are a little more. This is what we were hoping it would have ended on with that series.
But I'm just saying, you're busting through the portal. You've got King Adam, you've got Filmation Adam. Why not throw 2000X in there? Instead, you throw 6 new characters. You know, it's like
Believe me, me being who I am, yeah. How much would I have loved to see that? Of course, I would have loved to see
Right.
that. I'm never ever going to tell you that that's not something I wished.
It's just
So.
another point where it seems like he lost his way along the way, like he forgot what he was doing. You know, and I said from a long time ago and in private, all of this should have come back. All the Adams He-Man should have come back at the end here, and it should have been their take down anti He-Man moment. The
Agreed.
He-Man should have been the star. All right, I think we're good there.
All right.
Hopefully we're good there, guys. Give you all a second to catch up here, and then we'll finish off the episode here. Man, last week it's because all you guys are here. Because last week when it was just Manny, we went through like flawless up to the end.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's see here. I think I got all that. Yeah. Oh, Arturo was asking where he can listen to Council, the first ones. I know I've got it on Spotify. If you got Apple products, it's on their podcast app, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's pretty much anywhere that podcasts are accessible. But I do listen to it on the Apple Podcast app.
Yeah. So yeah, just do a search. And really, I think we've shared a few things on the page. If you got David Clark, he shares a lot of stuff. So check out the page. Scroll through there. And yeah, it should be pretty easy to find. And so the last thing is Manny's question from the group one, which keep looking out, guys. We're gonna, well, the first part of his is a comment. He'd like us to do some of these live episodes with the 80s tunes, and we will, Manny. These are just our first couple. We'll do more of these. These are fun. I like having you guys in the chat here.
Yeah. This is the time where we know we're not just talking into the void, having some people come in and talk shop with us. So, we're always happy to have people to talk shop with like this. This is fun.
Yeah, so we will do more lives. We will hit some of the other eras too. And then his other question is, in She-Ra, who are your favorite characters besides Adora / She-Ra? I'll let Sean go first because he's the She-Ra buff.
Yeah, I am nuts about She-Ra. That one truly is difficult for me because I never really had a huge favorite. But to be honest, I'd say the Horde characters in general were always my favorites because they just their designs and stuff. I always enjoyed seeing them. I wasn't thrilled about the snorting Hordak, and I know that's sacrilege, but
he snorted
something
in 2000X too.
I know, and that still bugs me. I'm not gonna lie, but but I always enjoyed the overall designs of them, and I guess Hordak would probably be up there on the list for me of the actual characters.
And what about a Rebel?
A Rebel? Let me think here. All right, I'm gonna go with my hormones. I'll do that. Frosta. I'll say it because Frosta, when she oohed and awed over He-Man, when I was a kid, I remember seeing that and just going, man, when I get older, that's gonna be awesome if I could get a girl to do that to me. And it didn't work out like that. No. My wife very much is not that person, but I always look at that and it's like, Frosta, you warm my heart even though you're ice cold. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, well, I'll do a villain and a hero too. For villain, it's honestly a tie between, well, one edge is out there, but I'm gonna mention them both just because all the Evil Horde was great. Grizzlor, actually, I really like the Grizzlor Filmation design. He's not my favorite character, but I really like that design to the point where, like with the figures, I wouldn't be upset if I had the Filmation and not the classics. Like, I like that more tamed look of Grizzlor than just the hairy beast. And he was really smart in the series too. He controlled Beast Island and everything. And But for favorites, ever since Secret of the Sword, it's got to be between Catra and Scorpia. Like they were just so different than what we'd seen. Like Catra with her changing into the cat form, and then Scorpia just that first time she meets He-Man in the village of Thamor, and she, got you now, Muscle Man, and she's just going right up to him like that's not something you like. There were female villains on He-Man, but these ones just seem so much more evil. And like Scorpio just like she saw He-Man, she's like, I'm gonna cut you and I'm gonna sting you, and you know, um,
This is how we do it in the streets.
yeah, like I don't know, they just seem so evil and so different. Like that's nothing you would see before or after. Even though they supposedly rebooted the series, you still wouldn't see them like that again. Um, and then for Rebels, uh, I'd have to go Castaspella. She has always been really neat to me, and her magic use and everything. Mysticore is really cool, and just her design. I've always liked something about the colors and the red hair and everything. She's always been a really cool character to me. So.
In the Classics line, she was one of the first I had to get for a Princess of Power figure. My first, I got She-Ra, and then I ended up with a Natasha, which I still think she's a great figure too. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember her on the show well enough to go, oh, Natasha would be it. But Castaspella was one where I was like, man, like they really did something great with her too. So this as a figure. But hey, really quick about the Horde. One thing when I was a kid that always made me get nervous was every time that I played with Leech, because of the whole idea that he sucked the power out of the figures. Yeah. So in my head, I was like, I know it's an action figure, but if I touch him too long, there was this like thing in the back of my head, like I know it's an action figure, it's a hunk of plastic, but who knows? It always gave me the creeps like that.
Oh, I love that. So. I love that scene too from the Battle of Thamor, where Leech is just like got Bow and Glimmer, just like and they're just like dropped like oh. Yeah, no, they were evil. I mean, and I know someone said that earlier in the chat. I missed it, but they said, "Man, it's been a long time." It's probably on my earlier rant, but they said they agreed it's been a long time since an evil villain has just been evil. Like, whoever does it again first, like they're gonna get all these props and everything. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, look at this! It's so original. It's a villain that's just evil." It's like because it's been so long.
So here's the thing that I'm curious about, and I think we need to cover it before we end, no matter what. Here,
sure.
I know Tim Seeley isn't writing Revelation, and he's not writing the other cartoon,
right?
But the fact that Tim Seeley was like, okay, he had to pitch this to Rob David, and then Rob David even made him pare it down even more than what we got. Because he was going to go to the Where's a T universe at one point and like bootleg universe and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, you got to give the fans what they want. Right. But then what we got out of this was not what the fans wanted for obvious reasons. So here he did the Eternity War, Rob David, and he definitely was like a guiding force on that.
He was a guiding force. He didn't write it per se, but he came up with the arcs. Yeah,
there are people that really enjoyed that, like you and I are two that like it. I know there's some that are like, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing though, like he's one of the guiding forces, and so is Ted Biaselli over at Netflix and stuff. But after seeing what this was.
Right.
Does it worry you what we're getting next in any way, shape, or form? Because this to me was not a great, let's jump into something else, because this was such a cluttered mess that now the next thing to me seems like it's going to be even more of a daunting prospect. And it probably will be the cartoons.
Yeah.
I don't think they have another miniseries set up.
I will say that this being what it is does not make me worry. I am worried about Revelation in particular, but this does not make me worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, here, this is its own thing. It can lead into something else. Well, it can lead into anything if you want to split it that way, because it set up the whole multiverse and all these
Mm-hmm.
Eternias still exist and they have new warriors and blah, 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 blah. So anything could lead from here, but it's set up as its own thing. It's the story of Prince Keldor, and that's obviously not going to be a focus of either show going forward. Honestly, like I've said before, I wouldn't even mind if they dropped the Keldor aspect for one of the series. Just, I mean, just like Turtles does. Like, they don't do exactly the same thing each time. Transformers doesn't do exactly the same thing each time. Like, pick and
Yeah.
choose once in a while. Does it have to be Keldor every time? I mean, I liked it in 2000X, but that doesn't mean that needs to be like a hard earned truth from now on. Like, you could do one where he is just a demon from another dimension. And
Yeah.
He-Man and the Masters, I'm not worried about that, because it's either I'm gonna like it or I'm not. It's, at least from what I hear so far, it's gonna be an ongoing. It's gonna be following the adventures of He-Man. Adam becoming He-Man. Whatever. It's gonna be a kids series. So that one is more just, will it be written in a way I can enjoy it, and it might not be, and that's that. I'm not worried about that. Revelation I'm worried about, because I think, like I said earlier, I think Kevin Smith has promised it to be too much. And I just don't see how it can be all the things he wants it to be. So,
Well, Revelation for me is you shouldn't be putting something out there 2 years early and
yeah.
professing what it is. That for me was like, we should have been finding out about Revelation like now.
Yeah.
Because they're already into it, so it would have given us, hey, there's something, and then by the end of the year we would have had a trailer or something the way they're going. And it's like, don't set this fandom in particular, don't do that. We already love this too much. We going into something else, it's like, you better have that ready, and you better have character designs to post and stuff before we even get into this. And that's what's I'm nervous for that reason. But there is this element of, after seeing this, where I'm like, okay, I'm a little nervous of what might be coming up one way or the other. And I think the other thing about this one for me was, it kind of shocked me that now I guess the King Adam is going to be the focal point He-Man in DC, the way it feels. Because they had him coming in, and it's like, I guess that's all right. But there is an element of like, well, what about my, it's almost, there's too many He-Mans now. So it's like, well, when does my He-Man get a chance? Or when does this He-Man get it? And it's like, that's a can of worms too.
Well, yeah, and like I said before, not to dig too deep, but I would love to see what happened after Eternity War, because I thought they set up that series to go on and on. Because seeing Adam reclaim Eternia, regrow it, and train this new force, and if we'd had all that, then maybe these He-Force jumping in would have been cooler. And the whole She-Ra arc that's out there based off the Eternity War saga, like, it's got some steam left in it. But yeah, so does 2000X, so does, even New Adventures. You could go back to that well and see, how he finally gets back to Eternia. There's lots of stories out there, and the fact that they're giving us stuff like this and stuff like Injustice, and even the Thundercats, which I know was about split 50-50 whether people love it or hate it, but it's like, you're doing all this and we can't get a good story with Buzz-Off and Cyclone. Like, there's so much here. Dig into it once in a while,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, all of these to me are now, it's a stunt.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to swallow about anything they've done since Eternity War. It's, all right, well, Thundercats and He-Man, why does peanut butter and jelly taste good? Okay, fine. But it's like, I never needed that. It was always something that's like, all right, fine, I toyed around with it. And then it's like, oh, now there's this. But they just finished this huge run. That would have been great to have a follow-up. And we don't go back to that. Now all of a sudden we're reminded, hey, by the way, King Adam's around here. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was completely like, I know it's multiverse, but what the hell? Like, anyway, all right.
Well, and it should have been 3 issues ago. Like, you needed to care about him. You needed to know that he was in it the whole time. Whereas we'd written him off like, oh, they just put him on there. He's not actually going to show up.
Well, that's like I'm gonna say the cover illustrations were nice. I'm not gonna say that they were bad illustrations at all. But my issue is the illustrations never gave you what actually happened in the story.
Yeah.
And I know you said, well, that's comic books, but to me, it's like that was more of a. I felt like the editor probably just went, well, here's who's in the issue, and the artist just went to town, and then the things that they put on there was him just kind of going, well, this might be fun, and then you get the issue, and it's like nothing like that ever happened, nothing like that ever played out. So if you were hoping for that, good luck. It's and
you didn't get it.
it did. You didn't get it. No.
And real quick here, as we moved on, Zen Brown says definitely Hordak's his favorite. Arturo says that Hordak was his favorite villain and Frosta was his favorite rebel for the same reason you said.
Represent.
Manny's were Shadow Weaver, Castaspella, Frosta, and Admiral Scurvy. And yes, I do remember Admiral Scurvy. Sean probably doesn't, though. But he was a decent one. Couple shots.
I know Catra.
Yes. And yes, it doesn't look like either of the new series are going to be out before 2021, unfortunately. So we have nothing to look forward to this year.
And I know what happened in reality was not planned. So obviously it probably bumped schedules. But still, they should have been touting this at PowerCon this year. Last year was way too early because now fans are. I mean, they're even today. Oh well, now Teal is the main character. It's like stop.
It's still popping up.
Just stop.
Did you see the article from Screen Rant today?
That's what I'm talking about. Somebody posted, and then they started the fight again. And it's like, just stop, because we don't know anything about this other than here's the through line of the show that they talked about. And then we have Kevin Smith interviews. That seems like every other week there's an interview with him hinting at more of this, which is driving me nuts. And we have a poster, and we have that video showing a few voice actors. And we have a cast list. That's all we got. Don't even go thinking that at this point. It's not – until we get a trailer, I'm not believing anything at this point.
Yeah, Screen Rant, they put out an article today, for those of you who didn't see it. It was entitled Masters of the Universe Revelation, Release Date and Story Details Revealed. That was the
clickbait.
That was the absolute title of the article. So I clicked on it. Very first paragraph of the header is release date. Very first line is no release date has been announced.
Yep.
And I just clicked back off. I'm like, okay.
I saw the one
of
where
those.
It was Adam looking sullen and Tila laughing with the head back laughter, because it was the whole Tila is the main character and you've been hornswoggled or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, we don't know anything.
Nobody knows.
And it's like, oh my God, any fandom would have higher hopes with something that's 2 years away being told, and here we are, we're coming up on a year pretty soon, and we don't even have a trailer. Nope. So, why are we getting all anyway one way or the other? And I know I am, but it's mostly I'm just tired. I just want to see something finally.
Just give us something.
Give me something, and if I don't like it, I'll go, well, at least I know that's going to be not what I want to see, but I'll probably sit through it to see if I'm wrong, and when I'm right or wrong, I'll admit it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all we got for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in with us. We really do appreciate it. Join the Facebook page. We chat there. We're going to do more of these lives. You guys can join in. It was really great going back and forth with all you guys and everything. Mm-hmm. So thanks to everyone who showed up. Check out the Facebook page. Check out Council of the First Ones podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Hit all those buttons down below so that we know people want to see this, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. Sean, Definitely. You got anything?
It's been a long and windy road. It's like that whole thing, and when people sign yearbooks, what a wild and crazy ride it's been. And it's like, now that we're at the end of this one, I'm just like, can we move on to some? I'm not saying it's your fault, but can we move to something where I'm actually like, and excited again finally, instead of, well, that happened. So looking forward to next time.
And it's good to be over.
It is, and it's weird. 2 finales in a row, and both of them made us just go, well, that happened. So, yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, thank you guys, and until next time.
Until next time.